kind of talk about the library and the no loitering, or?
I'm here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I think this matches that I'm chair of the library.
I guess I was just going to say, I mean, does the library board share a similar concern, or?
I mean, we've had concerns. There's no doubt about it. We've had thefts from the library, I think unrelated to the individuals you're speaking of. Obviously don't know all the names or the facts at this point. We've addressed those internally with the library, and that has had success mitigating the thefts that we were experiencing the last couple of years with the help of the police department with some good advice. And at this point, I think if there's concerns about, the wireless has been brought up as a concern. They're sitting there using the public access Wi-Fi for whatever purpose. I obviously don't monitor that. And I guess I'm not sure what role the library is going to have in this. This seems like more of a police matter to me.
I'd agree, and I wasn't putting you on the spot saying, come on, Matt, what's the solution to all this? It's obviously a library problem.
It is a problem for the library.
And I'm concerned. That's why I was asking if it was, are people uncomfortable when they come into
the free Wi-Fi that draws them to the video? Can we shut that Wi-Fi out?
Well,
during off hours.
We could do that. My concern there is there's a lot of legitimate use on that Wi-Fi when the library is closed. A lot of people don't have internet access, or don't pay for it, or whatever the case may be, and they use the public Wi-Fi. I'm generally opposed to shutting down public Wi-Fi just to do an experiment on some potentially bad apples. Because I don't know if it's necessarily going to solve the problem. I mean, if they're on their cell phone, you don't have to be on the Wi-Fi to connect to the internet. You can use the tower up here on the head.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that
Why don't they?
I don't know.
Because it costs money.
It's probably data points.
Right. But that decision.
Again, this is all speculation. I'm here to find out facts.
Sure.
For the facts here.
Right, and I, at least from my point of view, the selectmen have absolutely zero say with what the library chooses to do with their Wi-Fi, and if they wish to provide a publicly accessible 24-hour day, that's up to them. I agree with you, I don't think it's going to solve an issue whether you turn Wi-Fi off or not.
Well, my question was only to what effect does the Wi-Fi bring people to the steps of the library and have them sit there for long periods of time?
It happens to be one thing you have control over that you can actually try.
We could try that, but to what effect? How do we measure that? What metrics are we going to use to determine whether or
You
not
don't
it's
see a
effective?
bunch of people sitting on the library step.
I can tell you how you can measure it when you switch the switch and they get up and walk away, then you know you're
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you've also turned away every person who had a legitimate reason to go use it.
That's true.
So there may be poor families that
Exactly.
happen to go down there because that's the one place they can get on the internet. I mean, there is no absolutes in this.
There are people that use it.
There are people that do come down and use it
But for
that reason.
monitoring, if you had trouble with someone who was misusing it, then that would be a good way to, that's a solution. Not a good one, but it's a solution.
Okay, so it's the opinion of the select board, the three anyway, to recommend to the library that we shut off Wi-Fi during closed hours?
I would.
Yeah,
But not indiscriminately.
I would
saying
not.
that it's
Yeah,
indiscriminate.
I just don't see that it's targeting anybody other than making something that's publicly accessible no longer publicly accessible. And I don't think it's going to solve the issue. I don't think Wi-Fi is causing a drug issue in downtown.
I could add one thing to that discussion is it's hard to, there's a lot I could say about the no loitering sign that's up there, but set that aside. The no loitering sign is hard to enforce when you have free Wi-Fi. So if we have, and you really, I mean, that would be like the ultimate defense, really. It's like, wait a minute.
It's a contradiction.
Right, exactly. So I'm here to use internet. It's free, but there's a sign here that says no loitering. So it is difficult. I'm not suggesting that we shut down the Wi-Fi.
Well, then you'd have to take the signs down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we wrote a ticket or charged someone or took enforcement action on no loitering on that sign, and that would be a problem because we would have free internet.
All right, how about this as a compromise? Presently, the library is a password-protected web security. The password gets changed very infrequently. If we change the password, if we make a plan to change the password once a week, once every 2 weeks, it's going to irritate a lot of patrons that come in there and have to ask for the password and then go through the process of attaching themselves to the network so that they can legitimate library business. But that's something I think the board would be willing to accept, at least to give it a try. It would be a little more onerous for the librarian, but I think she'd be willing to do it.
I don't think we're asking for a compromise. I mean, I don't, all I was doing was wondering what effect the free Wi-Fi had on the number of people that are out there. I don't think that the selectmen should get involved in compromising of the library. I object to that.
I agree with you completely. So I guess I would say, to the library, if you feel it's an issue, if it's causing.
But if you're gonna have no loitering signs.
Well, it's a separate.
You can't have that free Wi-Fi.
So
when it's not open.
If people are they loitering when it's open? Now do we consider it loitering in violation of a no loitering sign at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Because you're still standing around looking at your tablet, or maybe it's 5 people there. That's why I'm saying, I guess, number one, where I come from, where my point of view is on this is a service provided from the library, and the library is a part of the community, and if the library chooses to do X, Y, or Z, it's up to those guys.
Yeah.
Number two, I just don't see.
But then we tell Marcello to enforce the no loitering. How does that work?
Let's talk about no
It
loitering.
doesn't work.
Let's take this one point at a time. Matt, do you have any other input from the library's point of view?
We have a meeting this Thursday, a regular scheduled meeting. If anybody wants to come and talk about it,
And you guys.
It's on the agenda.
Okay, excellent. Okay, let me conquer a couple of questions. Bobby?
The Wi-Fi, you know that we turn it off at the fire ambulance station. And we had noticed a long time ago that people were gathering over there. And during the day, it was like no big deal. But because at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes it's only one person that comes back with a fire truck or an ambulance, and we had people in front of the bays and things going on.
Sure.
They don't come there anymore.
Okay.
So I just let you know, it did work. And, we do turn it on when we're there. And it is a little hassle turning on and off, but
You bet.
we just felt for safety purposes, for the community and everything, and I hate to say it, those people probably moved over.
Well, yeah, for whatever they did or didn't do, I think it would be at least my position that I'm in no interest of micromanaging the fire department and their Wi-Fi, any more than I'm interested in micromanaging the library's Wi-Fi.
I'm not thinking issue.
My name is Nicole, and my concern is, we're not looking at the bigger picture here. There's lots of kids that play at the library, so you can't come in unless these officers are gonna go tell a 10-year-old, you're loitering, leave. I meant because they have to do the same for me as they do for that child. I don't think that's for our kids. And I understand there's a problem, I wouldn't want that in front of my house either, but I think we need to come up with a different solution so that we're not penalizing innocent people or children.
Thank you. Carl?
If you consider the library could be open 24/7, but it's not, you have Wi-Fi on all the time, there's potentially a freedom of information issue, but I can tell you as a resident of the village that for years since the library got Wi-Fi, I've witnessed very charming events like the following. 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from one of my tenants concerned because there's someone over at the library. And I look and I service provided by the library, are you in fact loitering?
Thank you. All right. Now, I've been trying to kind of guide this in some sort of a path here, but could we hear a little bit from Roger and Marcello on where you guys feel this is not a new issue? We have met many times and we've discussed many times people's concerns with definitely the use of opiates and things like that in Alstead, in particular in the village. So, turn it over to you.
So, today, well, let me back up. Years ago, we had a couple people who moved into the village. There was two young men, and they were brothers. And in a matter of a year and a half, those two people caused so much crime and disorder, kept us so busy, that it was definitely a off the charts kind of statistic for the police department, and it was just one house, one group, one family, and eventually we solved the problem and we made arrests, and it took time, and it wasn't easy. So this problem, Debbie, that you're talking about, I know that it's frustrating, and I know other citizens are frustrated with what we're seeing in our community, and we're not alone. Today, I went with Officer Howard and Penny. We went to the Governor's Summit in Manchester on opioid abuse. We spent the whole day there. The Governor set this up, and there was just a tremendous amount of information that we are going to bring back here to town. We're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We're not going to treat our way out of this problem. That's what they said today. We have to do a lot of things to get ourselves out of this problem. And it's not just Alstead, it's the nation, it's the Northeast, it's the East Coast, it's the state. One of the big numbers that shocked me today was the age of addiction onset is, many of you probably already know this, but is adolescents, 12 years old to 25 years old. That is the age group where people are getting addicted. The people that we see on the library steps, or we see doing drug deals on our streets, maybe older than that, maybe younger than that. I think a lot of them are probably in their 20s and may be beyond treatment right then and there. That there needs to be a lot of things that happen to them to get them straight. It's not like you're going to be talking to a 4th or 5th grader. Can't catch that person early. So what are we doing in Alstead? We're continuing to do aggressive enforcement. We are now at full staff. Our second officer is still training and will be eventually within the next month or two ready for patrol, so we can have 2 shifts covered again like we always have had. Right now we mostly have 1 shift covered. What else are we doing? We have a good relationship with the townspeople. I always was impressed with how many people walk through our door. There's a citizen right here that used our sergeant's first name 3-4 times. She said she used his first name. She knows it. We know each other. We all know each other. We're neighbors. So we're constantly getting information. We're not ignoring information. We're not just saying, oh, we don't have a problem. We'll deal with that Monday. Let me go get a cup of coffee and a donut instead. We're not doing that. We are investigating things. We take things very seriously. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time. I'm not saying you're going to see results tomorrow or in 6 months. It could be a year. It could be quicker than that,
I have a question for you.
yes.
You said you're not going to force your way into arrest or something like that. So if someone's doing something illegal, even if they are an addict, they're still doing something wrong within our community. So
They get
that's-
arrested. They get arrested, yes.
I think what you were saying was, we're not going to arrest ourselves out of this.
Correct. We, like Debbie said, we arrest someone and then they are back on the street that night or in a week or whatever, and then we have the same problem. So it's not, it's just, our solution isn't just to arrest them. We're gonna continue to do our job and arrest and charge people, send them to court. That's the only tool, one of the only tools we have right now, and that's our job. We will continue to do that. We do a good job at that.
So is there anything that the people here in the community that you can tell us that would help you
Yes.
to make this work?
So,
To make our streets down here a safer place?
yes, I like to see stuff reported as it happens when it happens. So, if you see a drug deal happening, that is a 911 call. You can call 911 for a drug deal. If you see it happening, you call it in, and you give the dispatcher the particulars. They're going to want. You could say you want to be anonymous. Some people don't want to give their name. That's fine. You call 911. They're going to want to know what kind of car they're in. They're going to want to know what direction they traveled in. What was the person wearing? And if an Alstead officer is on duty, we will respond and we will look for that car. We will respond and look for that person.
To make it do probable cause, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes it does. If we're not on duty and there's a state trooper in the area, they will respond and do the same. Walpole, same thing. They may come over and try to find that car for us. We all work together in this. The police departments all work together. So
What's happened with all the license plates we gave you and all the reports? And I was told that we need to see them in the act, know exactly what they were using. There could be zero speculation, from afar. Like Deb's saying, I saw an exchange kind of go back and forth and then two people separated. I was told that's not good enough.
it's not good enough if we get it late. If we don't get the information and actually it's fresh pursuit, I guess is the word we can use. If we don't get a call, if the call doesn't come in and the dispatcher says, hey, this car is last seen traveling east on 123, and the dispatcher says the plate is this, the driver looked like that, and then we can use that information. That's not speculation. That is real. But if we got that information 4 or 5 hours later, or the next day, or even a half hour later, and then we have to go knock on that person's door, things are cold at that point, and that type of information goes into it's more of an investigative tool at that point. It's not something we can take immediate action on.
Right. And we do have, and you guys are most restrained by the Fourth Amendment,
Yes.
meaning that they have to have probable cause to take immediate action, or they have to have enough information to take to a judge to get a warrant for anything else to go on, for you guys to go in to search a place. It's a high bar. It's supposed to be a high bar. That's why we don't have to worry about the police knocking down our doors because somebody said something, or I was stopped talking to Jesse at 3 o'clock in the morning because I happened to be out and somebody saw my license plate and they reported me.
Yep.
So I do certainly respect that, and I gotta say, I think the toughest part about being a law enforcement officer has gotta be walking that line between being effective for your community and ensuring that you're protecting people's rights. And they have rights.
There's another thing we are looking for now is some volunteers for our Crime Stoppers group. We need board members. If there's anybody here who knows anyone or anyone in this room wants to be part of the group, It's, it's a nonprofit organization. We have 6, 7, 8 towns that are part of it. The Crime Stoppers group hosts a tip line online. You can text in crime tips, you can phone in crime tips. We over the last year, the Crime Stoppers has not been as active as I wish, as I hope. But now that we have another officer on board, I'm hoping that that's going to kick back up.
This might be for Chris, because I know you brought this up, you were sort of having these meetings in a while, but you had mentioned starting some sort of neighborhood watch group. Has that gone anywhere? Is that active? Is that something we could?
No, we were going to order some supplies, and we never did. But I think we'd all be willing to look at doing that again. It wasn't a high cost, and I guess that's where, after we heard from the library and we heard from the citizen who initially brought her concerns to us, we heard from the police, then I guess the question now is back to not the selectmen, because we're very limited in what we can do. We just are. We don't have broad powers under New Hampshire law. But what's the community going to do? And some of the things that have been tossed out in the past have been, okay, why don't we start a village neighborhood watch? You know, why don't we get some volunteers that are willing to, I'd be happy to come down here for an hour and walk around and keep my eyes open or drive
My
through.
understanding, we couldn't implement that because the police were overseas and they were understaffed.
Well, first of all, everybody, including the people that hang out at the library, have the right to freedom of assembly. And that also means that you have the right to freedom of assembly. And if you're not doing anything that violates the law, you have every right to do whatever you want. Now, I hope that we can get to a point where, we can get some citizens that are interested with working directly with the police and saying, okay, we got this little group together, how can we work with you to better support it? But creation of a group like that isn't the responsibility or power of a select group. That's up to you guys. If you guys wish to take that on, I think that would be a great step.
I don't know what limitations a group like that has, but I'm sitting here comparing the social media event of the sandwiches to the fire people with a problem that somebody might have in town and the access that the community has through its social media. You should be able to put 20 or 30 people right up there and just surround them and start talking to them, do a little love fest or whatever, and they're going to disappear. and the reason they're going to disappear is because if you make it uncomfortable for them to do deals in town, they will leave. I don't mean you have to hassle them, but I mean, there's ways that a community, and Roger and McConnell can tell you better than I can, but I don't know the rules of Crime Stoppers, and I don't know the rules of, what was the other one, crime prevention?
Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch.
There aren't really rules, but they're
they have
programs.
Guidelines.
They're programs with guidelines.
And, well, I'll tell you, that's the way you ought to be going.
Oh, go ahead. He was earlier, and I was kidding.
You brought that up last year.
Yes.
Okay, and I thought also that you brought information about how to do it, how to put it together. I remember at one of the meetings. Okay, I think that should be, let's regurgitate it up to the top of the
Top of the list.
Because she's going away with very little information, and she knows what's the problem. We all know there's a problem. Okay, now in the library, one of the attractions is this 24-hour internet, free internet. So if the select board would recommend that they take a look at that and maybe only make it during hours of operation.
No, we don't want to do that.
Or as I think you talked about, you can change your password so often and they've got to know what the password is, so they've got to go in, right, to get it, but not have it available on a free access after hours. But I had free internet access just because of stupidity at our house, and people used to stop there.
Not that for years.
Okay, so I got a little bit more sophisticated with it. And as soon as we stopped it and put a password on, we don't have anybody stopped in front of our house anymore. Okay, so I know it works. all right? And then what Marcello's, looking to do with this 911 immediate kind of thing, that whole thing can be brought together as a package. This is what Alstead's doing about this, and we can publicize it, as Tim is recommending, okay, through whatever it is, Chronicles, whatever it may be, the appropriate thing. And there's 4 or 5 things right there, okay? Now, I know Karen, a year ago,
Yes.
so there's stuff going on in the town, and I think, I agree with you, Tim, that if we drum this up a bit, okay, that you'll get a lot of people who are willing to take an hour a week out of their time, and if we did 4 or 5 hours a night, half a dozen people, 4 or 5 hours a night, splitting it up, I think you might chase it away. Unfortunately, you're not stopping.
No, you won't, no.
Right.
But at least it's not in the front of our public building.
I agree. Let me get to another question that was in the back.
Have we considered, getting cameras for in town and like signs that say like, police take notice?
Well, that becomes a little problematic when towns do it.
Why is that?
New Hampshire law, and I'll have to revisit that. There's primarily the issue is we're not allowed to, I think it's knowingly or unknowingly, take pictures of license plates.
Right. Highway surveillance.
Highway surveillance, and that's a law that protects the citizens in New Hampshire from the
Well,
government.